Hey everyone, Christina Giordano here. I am the founder of Sold, SOUL''D, and my philosophy is this: people can no longer be sold to, they must be sold to. However, in order to sell with soul, you must be sold on you first. Now, just a reminder, these episodes are preview episodes of the full podcast. You can find the full podcast, Sold by Christina Giordano, on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Now, the title for this week's content, this week's episode, is The Inevitable Shift: Why Performance No Longer Converts and What Replaces It. Now, if you're tuning into this, you know that there's something happening on a collective level right now, and it's pretty massive. I don't typically talk about astrology in my podcast, even though I'm a lover of astrology and all the things spiritual and kind of esoteric. I don't typically talk about it. And the one time where I believe I did talk about the shedding year, the year of the snake, the 9-year in numerology, which is 2025, was in my free transmission, which is available on my website. So if you want to get kind of like a foundational preview of what we're talking about in this episode today, you can head to my website. You'll find that transmission, which again is free, on either my homepage or my Get Guidance page. Both of them actually have it. So today I'm talking about this kind of, I want to call it a collective collapse that's happening over the next several weeks and several months, and it's kind of the end result of the year of the shed, that great shed. And you can feel this if you're watching right now. You can feel what this is right now, and you've been shedding, you've been releasing, you've been becoming a new version of you that actually reflects a truer version of you. And so today I'm talking about this collapse of the collective, and the collapse in and of itself is actually a systemic illusion. It's simply losing fuel, which is why my title is Why Performance No Longer Converts. It's already happening. And in this episode in particular, I talk about a couple astrological transits that are kind of like propelling this forward. The first would be the eclipse season that is underway currently, the new moon solar eclipse, which is on February 17th, and then also the Saturn and Neptune conjunction, which happens, I believe, on February 21st. Now, I am not an astrologist. However, I do follow astrology, and it is something that I like to tie into my work, because astrology to me is kind of like the weather of the times. And so having that understanding can help you show up for it instead of run from it. Now, some people are also calling this the collective narcissism collapse, or the collective narcissistic collapse. However, this isn't about individuals imploding dramatically. It's not even about personality disorders. At a collective level, narcissism represents identity that's built on distortion. So that's what I'm referring to when I'm speaking of systemic illusions losing fuel. And this can look like power without accountability, performance without integrity, authority without embodiment, image without substance, and control without consent. It essentially thrives on external validation, gaslighting, attention loops, hierarchy over truth, and looking aligned instead of being aligned. So that is essentially what's collapsing right now. And it's not something that happens overnight, and it's not something that's overtly obvious. It's happening in a quieter way, simply by people not getting angry over it, but by withdrawing their attention to it. So essentially, people are, when it comes to the shed, you're becoming more attuned to yourself, you're learning how to trust yourself again, and you're believing your nervous system, you're becoming more regulated in that way. You're going to start, and the collective is going to start orienting differently to these systemic illusions. They're basically not going to orient to them at all. So that's essentially what's changing. It's a quiet collapse that's based on non-participation, not necessarily an overtly dramatic collapse that looks like an implosion. It's not like that at all. And so in this episode, I talk about specifically what is collapsing, how it affects businesses specifically, because this is really important. The businesses that were built on adrenaline are going to feel massively destabilized by this, by these transits, by this collapse. Again, not overtly destabilizing, but there's going to be some wobbling. And businesses have actually already started to notice this. In fact, most entrepreneurs have already started to notice this. The higher output, the lower depth, the bigger launches, the flatter conversions, the more content, the less resonance, the exhaustions despite visibility. All of this is pointing towards something new that's happening. But here's the thing. Our instinct is telling us, based on the systems that we've been in, to push harder, to make bigger promises, to create sharper hooks, to, again, stay in that forcing, that persuasive, that compelling mindset, when really what performance doesn't fix incoherence, it actually amplifies it. So the people who are going to double down on that type of business building, the forcefulness, the pressure, the dominance, the performative look of authority, or even the notion that volume equals visibility. People who continue to perform are going to see a thinning of their conversions. Again, it's not going to be obvious, but they're going to start feeling the numbers start to dwindle. They're going to start feeling attention start to shift elsewhere. And the business owners who are actually going to be generating sustainable momentum after this collapse are not necessarily going to have more visibility. They're going to be more integrated and therefore more coherent. So in a saturated market where we're looking at who's the loudest of them all, right now we're looking at who's the most integrated. So therefore the nervous system actually becomes the new metric in saturated marketplaces. So again, I talk about all of this in the episode. Towards the end, I also give a mantra for a time like this. Now, this mantra is massively serving me right now. I'm hoping it will serve you too, because what it does is it allows you to stop bracing. It allows you to call back your energy. It allows you to be okay with non-participation, with orienting in a different direction in areas that actually matter to you, that aren't sucking your attention, but that truly matter. It makes you open and honest without expectation or, again, forcing things to happen, because force won't work anymore. And the reason why is because the field essentially won't support it anymore. And these transits they're clearing the field for especially the essence-led entrepreneurs. So again, this is an episode that goes there. It can be a very triggering episode to people who are used to performative dynamics within business or within life. But at its core, for those who want to be essence-led, who desire to be essence-led, it's going to be validation. It's going to validate your experience, your lived experience that you're moving through now, especially if you know what I'm talking about when it comes to the shedding process and releasing and what 2025 has been and represented for the collective. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. Let me know what you think in the comments, either here or even on my podcast pages. I don't think you can comment on there, but I am looking for ratings. So definitely, if you enjoy the episode, leave me a review. And until next time, be well and take care.